These are our most essential pieces of travel vlogging gear.
So if you want to travel the world, maybe document it, start a YouTube channel, this is for you.
We're not saying that everything we own is the absolute best or exactly what we highly recommend, because I think everybody's skill levels require something different. Everybody's needs are different. Maybe you love more photo than video. Well, what we have may not meet your needs. So we're saying also to say, this is what we use and this is what we love. And if we don't love it, we'll state that. But for the most part, we love our gear, and it's something we've put together as a kit over the last 10 years, at least for some of this stuff.
Yeah, I think if you were to compile everything, it would be thousands and thousands of dollars. You don't need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to start.
Don't look at this and be like, wow, they have a lot of money. No, we've just spent a lot of money over the course of a decade or longer.
One disclaimer, you'll notice that some of our gear kind of looks grimy and it's not up to snuff. And some of you may be like, hey, you probably need to upgrade. And you're probably right, but we like to use and abuse our gear as much as possible.
Well, there's a certain level of risk. We can't afford to replace everything. We take care of it, but we also enjoy using it. Like, you'll see our cases and our backpacks are dirty. Looks aren't the most important. We like to go out and use it, but take care of it. Also, another disclaimer. We are not sponsored by anybody in this video. No one has sponsored this video. Now, it'd be wonderful if they did, but this is not sponsored.
It would be wonderful.
This video is entirely of our free thinking and the products that we love. Nobody's endorsing it. Now, I will say that all of the links for each product are listed down below with the time codes. Those are affiliate links. Probably almost every single one is going to be an affiliate link. Those are no extra cost to you if you use them. We do see a small percentage kickback. Sometimes it's 2%, sometimes it's 8%. No extra cost to you. Just an easy way to say thanks.
Please.
So we think this is a pretty in-depth video. We go fast, but I think it's a pretty in-depth what we have in our bags. But if we don't answer something, or if you want further clarification, please drop it in the comments below. We'd love to help you out the best we can.
Please.
All right, let's get going. Just jumping right in. I think the first few things are gonna take the longest to talk about, but we're gonna try to move through it pretty fast. But like we said, time codes are down below if you wanna know about a specific piece of gear. Man, I can talk fast. This is my kind of stuff.
She isn't even on 2x speed yet. Like, that's crazy.
I know, I'm gonna get so many. Every time I do a video like this and I talk so fast, y'all all message me. I can't understand what you're saying.
So don't worry, you don't have to speed it up. We're gonna get through it.
All right, first up, Pelican case. So this is our Pelican case, and it looks like it's been through war. I think it came like that. We call it turtle because it's green and it looks like a turtle.
It's my Ninja Turtle.
We have stickers all over it just to personalize it. This case is a tank. It will take a hit, and that's why it's so awesome. Now, we only use this if we're flying. We don't usually use it unless we're flying.
This is perfect for flying. It fits perfectly over the overhead case, and it secures everything. We stick both of our cameras, our tripod, any lithium batteries, we stick inside Turtle, because Turtle will be with us 24/7 while we're traveling through the airport.
Now, the only thing negative about Turtle, there's two things that are negative. One is that anybody who is carrying these through the airport is carrying expensive gear, and people know that Pelican case means expensive gear. So you never want to let it out of your sight. I mean, don't let it out of your sight anyway at an airport because they'll think it's a bomb threat, but don't ever leave this because people know it's expensive.
Yeah, and you will get stopped during security.
Oh yeah.
Security will stop you because they know what is inside a Pelican case.
We get stopped all the time. Second downfall to this is it only has 2 wheels on the case. So when you roll it, it's not like a nice suitcase. It has the spinny wheels and 4 wheels. It's 2 wheels, and they're very rough 2 wheels. So it is not comfortable to pull. You will hit your ankles. But if you're wanting to keep your gear safe and keep it secure, that's the thing for you.
So the next bag is my Boundary Supply backpack. I love this backpack. It's very comfortable when I wear it, and there are so many different compartments in there. In fact, last week I found an entirely different compartment that I didn't know existed. It holds my 16-inch laptop, it holds my iPad, it holds my camera, it holds a plethora of other things. It's my favorite backpack so far.
And it has the waist thing. Chris has hiked in it a lot, and it has the waist for extra support. So if you are carrying around a lot of heavy equipment, that's nice on the back. I use a Peak Design backpack, and I've hiked with mine. It's been great. I've had this backpack for 7 years now, and the only where it's showing is the color is...
It's a little yellow.
It's a little yellow, mostly on the back because I've sweated a lot from hiking. Oh, that's disgusting now that I think about it. And also, the only thing that Kramer ever chewed as a puppy was my Peak Design bag. He got the little nylon strap at the bottom, and not on just a tiny bit, but it's fine. It still works great. It never tore further. That backpack has been with me. It's been all over the world with me. I love that backpack. It holds my 16-inch laptop. It holds my camera. It holds my tech pouch, which we'll talk about next. It holds a lot of different stuff. So when we're traveling, if we're flying, I'm just gonna go with the flying scenario because I feel like that's what people are most associating with us. But we use Turtle for the overhead bin. We each have a backpack which carries a lot of our plain stuff, like socks, our tech gear, our laptops, our headphones, all that kind of stuff. And then the other piece of carry-on gear we get is Kramer that goes under the feet. So that's all we carry when we're traveling on airplane. We could probably do a lot more carry-on only if we didn't have so much camera gear in Kramer.
Probably.
It's rare we get to do carry-on only. Anyway, fourth bag.
The fourth bag is one of our favorites. It is the Peak Design Tech Bag. This thing is like Mary Poppins. You can fit all sorts of cables, batteries. I mean, anything you can think of, you probably could fit inside.
We'll talk more about exactly what's inside it in a minute, but this thing is incredible. We purchased these last year. I cannot believe we waited so long to buy them. They're awesome. All right, so those are the 4 bags. The Peak Tech Pouch goes inside of our backpacks, and then the Pelican is separate. So that's sort of how we divide and conquer everything. Now, this next section is gonna take the longest because it's our camera and our lenses, and I think that has the most detail. So starting out, we each have a Sony A7S III. This is not a cheap camera. It's an incredible camera, but if you're starting out, you probably don't need this camera. We love it. We chose the Sony A7S III because it has awesome internal stabilization. We don't really want to have to carry on a stabilizer all the time. We just would rather, freehand it as much as we can. It's less weight and it's easier on the go. We also love this camera because it has awesome low light capabilities. That's one thing that sets this camera apart from a lot of the other Sony cameras or any camera in this price range. Third, it's full frame. And this Sony camera is the first camera that Chris and I have ever had that have been on the same system. Previously, he was on Panasonic, on GH5, and I was Team Nikon doing photography. And this is the first one that we ever said, okay, we can agree on one camera or one system and sell everything else and invest in a new camera and new lens. That's this camera. And I was not coming off of my Nikon until we had a full frame option because I like photos. And the only downside to this camera for us, besides it being a little pricier, is that it's only 12 megapixels. But we don't do a ton of photo past social media. I'd love to get into where we are licensing photos. That's an area we want to increase our business, which will probably mean a nicer photography camera. But for now, this is meeting our needs. We like having 2 of the same things so they can be on the same settings and we can just sort of run again. So if he usually uses the wide angle lens, I usually use the 24-70. And if I want to swap out, we can just throw them back and forth. And we know that each other's settings are the same.
Yeah, so that brings us to our lenses. I have the 16 to 35 millimeter f2.8. It's a very nice lens. It's the G Master series. It's expensive, but glass is forever.
It is. The glass lasts longer than the camera. You'll go through multiple cameras, and assuming you stay on the same system, you can use the lenses for years. I have the 24-70 f2.8. It's also the G Master, and it's a very nice lens as well. So they're very similar lenses, but different, focal lengths. 16 to 35 is a wide lens. So if you don't know, 35 millimeter is essentially like what you see in front of you. There's no distortion, there's no zoom, it's just right what your eye sees. So Chris's is wide to right in front of what you see. Mine is a little bit wide to zoom, a little bit of zoom, so 24 to 70. Truthfully, we use mine more than we use yours. Mine is a great all-in-one lens, but if you are doing a lot of vlogging, the 16 to 35 is great for the holding out, which is why he uses it more.
We actually bought the 16 to 35 first, thinking that we would use that a lot, and we have. But ever since we got a second camera and we started using Sarah's lens, we find ourselves using Sarah's lens a lot more because you're able to do a lot more B-roll. It just looks a little more cinematic and it's not as skewed and bowed.
Yeah, it gives you a little more variation than having a prime lens, which is just, one focal length. But I love this 24-70. I had the same variation of a Nikon version on my Nikon camera, so I knew I wanted that. I think if you're going to invest in a really expensive lens, a nice one, the 24-70 is a great all-in-one lens. A lot of photographers, that is their go-to. You don't necessarily have to have the lower f-stop, the f2.8. It adds extra weight and it adds extra money to the cost. We wanted to go with it because to us, if we were investing in a lens to last us years and years and years, hundreds, it's worth it to us because you get a little bit more bokeh, that blurred background kind of look. You get a little bit more with the f2.8, and also it allows you to shoot a little bit better in low light because it's a smaller, or opens lower is a bigger hole, letting in more light. Yes, I always get that wrong. Anyway, it gives you a little bit more low light capabilities. So those are our lenses. We would love to invest in like a 70 to 200 millimeter lens, or a good prime lens one day. But for now, everything is like one at a time. We just got the 24 to 70 right before Iceland. I will say we've been really good. I want to throw this out there. If you're starting out and you're like, oh, I really need that. No, you don't. Like when we had our Panasonic GH5, we had one prime lens. It was
That's
like
all we shot on.
It was like a 35 millimeter prime lens. That's all we shot on. And then we had only a wide for the first year of our Sony. Like you make do with what you've got and you find ways to be creative. And I think that pushes you, which is one thing I like about having minimal gear.
The next piece of gear that we absolutely love for our cameras is our Sony microphone. Now, this microphone is wireless, so it fits in the hot shoe mount of the camera. And we're able to take it off my camera, put it on Sarah's camera, vice versa. We love this thing.
And we only have one microphone. I want to put that out there. We
Yeah.
usually keep the microphone on Chris's wide angle lens, and then I keep mine with nothing because usually I'm doing more B-roll. He does better talking head than I do. If you guys have been around for a while, you know that when we switched to Sony, it's because our old camera's mic input was broken. So not just the microphone had already broken. This was our second microphone, but the microphone input. And we said, no more. So when the second that the Sony digital mic came out a year or two ago, we signed up and we bought that. It's been a good investment. Polarizing filters. We each have a polarizing filter on our camera for a couple of reasons, but you always need a filter. If you're gonna have an expensive lens of any variation, a polarizing filter is like 40, 50 bucks. It's not that bad. And it will protect the lens from getting small scratches on it. Or in the case of me, when Kramer was a puppy.
I was going to ask if you're going to bring that up.
Yeah, it's a little traumatic for me. But Kramer was a tiny little puppy, little itty bitty. I think he had been in our house for 2 weeks.
He was a minion.
He was so destructive. Actually, he didn't really tear that much up, but he was running around our office. Somehow, my stupid fault, left the camera on the side of the table. He got the camera strap, like his tail or something, just pulled it ever so slightly. The camera went crashing on the hardwood floor, lens down. I did not have a lens cap on it, and I thought I had shattered what was at the time my brand new 24 to 70 lens for my Nikon camera.
It was a very bad day.
I cried. We were newlyweds. I had saved for this lens. I was like, oh my gosh, I was so torn. I went to the camera store and they were able to tear off the filter, and it was only the filter. The filter protected my lens from getting broken. I mean, I wouldn't test putting a face first impact on it again, but it did it. So
moral of the story is
get a filter.
Buy a filter.
Get a filter.
The main SD card that we use is a Lexar 120 gig, 300 megabytes per second, 2000X SD card. Man,
that means nothing to me.
This one right here allows us to do 4K on 120 frames per second video footage, which basically means really pretty slow-mo in 4K.
Everybody thinks, oh, you're such a talented videographer. And in reality, it's just slow-mo. And it's so much easier. Chris tells me to shoot slow-mo because my hand is not near as steady as his. So he tells me shoot 120 frames because my hand's like shaky. I've got Kramer pulling me half the time.
And it just looks artistic when she's going through the flowers, and really Kramer's just dragging her down the street.
That's one reason why we bought that. It's a more expensive memory card, but it does allow us to utilize the capabilities of this camera. I wish we had this for Iceland and Korea. We just bought this right before our most recent Mexico trip.
The other SD cards that we have are Sony Tough Cards, and they're just really nice SD cards. They feel really nice.
So we have two different camera straps.
Yes, both by Peak Design. First is our hand grip. And we love this thing. It makes it feel like we have
the camera's a part of your hand.
Yeah, it's really firm,
sturdy grip on it.
Yeah,
and it's secure. Like if we're out in a city and I have that on, I tighten it up, and I don't feel like anybody's gonna walk up and snatch it out of my hand because it's pretty firmly on there. I'm not gonna drop it.
And you look cool.
No, you don't.
You look cool having the camera attached to your hand. The other strap that we have is just a basic. It's by Peak Design, but
it's a neck strap. You look like the dad at Disney World.
You do,
but I love it.
Yeah, it's really nice. One thing, and Sarah mentions this all the time, is that it is easy for people, maybe when you're out and about, to come by and slash that and take your camera. So we are very cautious when we use that in public.
Yeah, so especially if you're traveling internationally, we've heard horror stories of people having their camera strap snapped and or cut, walking around through a crowd. You never notice it. You can cut it. It's nylon, so it's thick. You have to have a pretty good set of scissors, but it is something to be aware of. But if we're hiking or something or out in more remote places, I use it all the time because I can, wrap it around me crossbody and then hold Kramer in one hand and a coffee in another, and I don't have to worry about like my camera and my hand getting wet with coffee, which has happened recently.
Yeah, they're both by Peak Design, so it means that on both ends, there's these little dongles that they're quick release, dongles that you can just attach. And so we can quickly take the hand grip off and add the neck strap or vice versa.
They have all sorts of little components that kind of work together, and those little attachments, they're great. We always carry extra batteries for the Sony camera, for the GoPro, and for the drone.
Word of advice, I did buy knockoff Sony batteries for our camera. They're not very good. They're not good. They don't last very long. So the name brand batteries work a lot better.
They're more expensive, but the charge holds better too. So you'll have to carry around less batteries. That was one of those times we try to cut a corner and we look back, we're like, what were we thinking? Now we have to carry on 4 batteries when in reality, like Sony 1 or 2 batteries is the same thing. Just don't do like we do. So we'll start with the drone case. The drone case is awesome. It's by Moment. We've had this case for a while. It's not a super hard case, but it's not flimsy. It's kind of got it's got form to it. It holds the drone, an extra battery, the controller, and then it has little slots for the memory cards and the ND filters.
Yes, and the drone that we use is the Mavic Zoom 2. They don't make this drone anymore.
I think we paid $1,200 for it when it was new.
So we've had it for a while. It's a great drone. We like it. We may upgrade soon, but I like it for now.
It's good to note though that this is not below the 250 gram limit. A lot of people think that's going to make or break your freedom to fly a drone. Most of the time that doesn't matter. The only place I can really think offhand that makes a huge difference is in Mexico, where in Mexico, if your drone is 250 grams or more, U.S. citizens cannot fly them. In fact, only Mexican citizens can fly the drones there. But if it's under, there's a little more freedom. Check us on this. We are not your legal advice, but it's not below that. So some people really are, very focused on getting that under 250 grams. It doesn't really matter so much to us because there's so many drone laws and they keep getting stricter, but that is something to note.
We're so knowledgeable about drone laws and how to fly the drone and how to take care of the drone because of our friends over at Pilot Institute. Again, they are not sponsoring this segment by any means, but we took their course and it is the best course to take if you want to know anything about drones or get your Part 107.
Which you have to do if you have a drone. Just know that. You just need your Part 107.
So go check them out.
I don't have it, but Chris has it, so I just never fly the drone. I don't like flying the drone. It stresses me out.
And the other little feature that we have for our drone is we've purchased ND filters, which is super nice, especially on really sunny days. We're able to, take the lens, put the ND filter on, and still get beautiful shots in the middle of the day.
It's like putting sunglasses on your camera. Like they're dark and it kind of darkens it and it helps with a lot of things, but that's the easiest way to explain it.
The next thing that we have in our bag is our GoPro Hero 8. Yes, we know, I think they're on Hero 10 or 11 or 12, something. This GoPro, it's great. We want to upgrade soon, but we love this thing. It goes everywhere with us.
We're going to use it until it stops working. That's how we do with most of our gear. We just typically use it. If there's something wrong with it, if we don't need to upgrade for quality, just keep using it.
A lot of the GoPro accessories that we use, we have a clamp that primarily we use for driving or our tuk-tuk. We also have this really cool one where it's weird arms and you can bend it around everything. And I love that one because no matter the platform or what you're trying to connect it to, it typically can hold on and you can get the shot.
Used that on the canoe recently.
Yeah,
that was a good use of it. Lighting, we don't really have a professional light kit for like a studio light kit. A lot of people really invest in lights if they do gear reviews and they're always in the same place. We're not, so we don't have a lot of fancy lights. We do have a couple little small Lume cubes, which are great for what we do. We use them in the van for if it was too dark and we're filming in there. We'll take them on the road with us just because it's nice. If it's in a dark space, we can pull it out. We were recently in some dark restaurant and we wanted to film, but we just pulled that out for a second. Another trick is you can just use your cell phone light, but this is stronger. We'll use it while we're doing YouTube lives, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's diffused, so it has that white, around it. Yeah.
They're great. They're great budget little lights, especially if you're filming in small spaces and kind of on the go. They're not too invasive. Tripods. All right, so the tripod we have that the camera is on right now, we're not going to show you guys because we actually have a new tripod coming.
We just backed this new tripod on Kickstarter. It should be here any day and we're excited to test it, but essentially it self-levels and it's robotic.
I don't fall for Kickstarters very often. I mean, there's some really cool ideas out there, but I think this is the first Kickstarter I was like, I have to back that.
It looks really cool. So we're going to put some footage of it over here and there's a link to it if you want it. We're excited to test this. Again, we haven't tried it in person yet.
Yeah, so don't quote us on how great it is.
But apparently with their videos, it looks pretty cool.
And I think the price that we got it for in the Kickstarter, I don't know what it's going to be at MSRP, but we got it for $325, I think.
Yeah, I think they're going to start selling these at about $500.
But keep in mind that we paid the tripod that we're using now. That makes me about cuss every single time. I think it was $300 new too, and I hate that tripod. It just, we never get shots of us together. A lot of couples, they carry that tripod all the time and they'll set it up for every single shot. And to me, it takes me out of the moment. I don't typically use it, and half the time it's because I'm fiddling with the legs. And this one, I think, is going to save a lot of time. So we bought it. We're going to sell this one, and hopefully, and the new one, actually, the electric one, it weighs less than this one does. It's carbon fiber. Another tripod we have is the Switchpod. This is great. A lot of people like to use the Gorilla Pods. I hated the Gorilla Pod, so we got this one. It came out several years ago now. The only thing that I don't like about it, it's great for this.
You're holding it backwards.
That way,
yeah.
But the only thing I don't like is that when Chris hands it to me, sometimes he'll hand it to me with two legs, and then the third one will swing around and slap my fingers if we're in a hurry. Like, it just doesn't look like it hurts that bad, but trust me, it does sometimes.
Yeah.
That's the only downside.
But you look super cool. Like, ha!
But this is the thing, every time that TSA makes Chris get out of the Pelican case, and like, we have to investigate this, because the way TSA does it now, they can 3D idea of how it's going to work, and they think it's a weapon every time.
TSA does not like Switchpod.
But every time that Chris makes the guys laugh, he's like, look at the tripod. And they're like, oh, you're really vain. Just go on. We always use iPhones. We don't upgrade all the time. We use ours until they start to have issues. Mine is currently the 12 or 13. And I do have 12. The 3 lenses. I use them all the time. Is it 12?
Yeah, yours
Okay. I've had mine for almost 2 years now. Works great still. I have no plans of changing it until something happens. I did step on it recently and crack the screen, but we'll get that fixed because Apple Care.
And I recently purchased the 13, but I purchased it in Korea because the international iPhones, you still are able to have a physical SIM card. The SIM cards here based in the US, they got rid of them. So that means if we travel internationally, I can't take the SIM card out. And yes, you can do eSIMs, and we still do that, but it's just nice to have the international.
It's easier. Yeah. You kind of go back and forth as you need to. So that's why we did it. I don't know if we'll always do it, but our thought was SIM cards may not all be digital or eSIMs in every place in the world. I'm sure they're almost everywhere, but it just seems a little security for a little longer. I feel like this is one of our most powerful little weapons, because when we are traveling, we don't want to carry a nice microphone like this most of the time. So when we're traveling on a plane, we can't always carry like a nice microphone. But this little tiny mic, you can get closer to it versus like the Sony one on top of the camera, which works pretty well for voiceovers, but we like to use the one in the iPhone to do voiceovers for our videos while we're on the road.
You can use it anywhere, and it just fits right into your iPhone.
We use SSD hard drive. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, we use SSD hard drives. That means it's solid state. There's no spinning disk around, so if we drop it, which we don't want to drop it, but if we do drop it, hopefully it still works. Basically, it's a lot faster. Yeah, we love the G Drive. We love these things. They're small and they're fast and they're really reliable. The other hard drive that I do carry with me currently is a SanDisk. We got it from Costco. I don't recommend it. We've heard nightmares. So
it works great right now.
It works great right now. We've heard nightmares from people who have it and they've used it quite a bit, and then it just crashes. So just be warned on that.
So far, so good, but that's not our first backup copy.
No.
The G Drive one, though, I think I have a 1 terabyte. Chris has a 2 terabyte because I put photos on mine. He puts video on his, and so he goes through it faster than I do. All right, we both have MacBook Pros, the 16-inch. I have the M2 chip. He has the M1 chip because he got his before mine.
Yeah, love.
I know we say the word love a lot, and maybe we should quit using the word love so much, but this is one of those things, like, it's changed the way we've worked. Chris has had his for 2 years now.
2 years. You've had yours for about a year?
Not even. I got it before Korea. So 6 months, 9 months.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Game changing. My old MacBook Pro, it worked great. I didn't realize it was dying so much, but it kept crashing in Photoshop. I was trying to I've been trying to learn video editing, and I would try to do like a 15-second story or a reel and edit it in Premiere's practice, and my computer would not let me create anything of 15 seconds. Like, it just completely crashed the program. I have had Illustrator, Photoshop, Lightroom, and Premiere open all at one time running, which stresses him out, and it did fine. I'm not kidding. It was working fine.
Yeah. I will export a video now on my computer, and it will take 15 to 20 minutes, which is amazing because my computer previously would take 3 to 5 hours.
And one thing I have for my computer, which makes me look like such a dork, drives Chris crazy, but I'm trying to learn to edit. But is this little, I think it's like $15 on Amazon, but it's this little keyboard cover with the shortcuts for Adobe. It drives him crazy. He's like, you look like such an idiot. Not idiot, but I look like such
cute. It's cute.
It's really cute.
But the best thing about it is that when I open up a laptop, I know if it's either mine or hers. So, and that's a great segue into what we use to edit our videos, which is Adobe.
Unplanned.
It was, but Adobe Premiere. We're big fans of the Adobe Creative Suite just because we use Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Premiere. After we use the entire thing, Lightroom. So yeah, we use Premiere to edit.
We're just going to talk about software. We'll get back to more gear here in a second, but software and platforms that we use to make our videos possible. These are not physical things that we have in our bag, but I do think they're important that if you're a travel vlogger or any sort of vlogger or video creator, these are things that you can use to make your content better. So one of them is Musicbed. We love Musicbed. We've used it from the get-go. A lot of people use Epidemic Sound, or they may find free stuff online. Mm-hmm. We personally like Musicbed. There's a great variety. They have Jude and the Lion, Drew Holcomb, Ben Rector. I mean, all sorts of bands that we've actually listened to in real life are available to use on this platform. And it's a monthly subscription.
Yeah, monthly subscription. It's real music. It feels like it has some soul to it. A lot of times when you go to these stock music websites, the music kind of falls flat. It's all the same dingy, like beat. I don't know how to explain it.
That's personal taste, though.
It is personal taste, but we really like Musicbed.
We do. And one thing I like about them is that they structure their pricing system based on how many subs you have. So you're not paying the same as somebody with 1 million subs if you only have 5,000 subs. Yeah, so we really like Musicbed, not sponsored, but they're great. If you want to give your videos a different feel or just try something out, you can get 30 days free. We do have an affiliate. I'll put that down there. But yeah, just you can go there for 30 days and see what do they have. Convertkit, we use Convertkit to send out our emails. I feel like that's an important one to mention.
Yeah, so if you're not a part of our email newsletter, please sign up. That would be great. But
this video sounds like one whole sales pitch.
It does, but it's just a part of the game. But we use Convertkit to talk to people on our email list. All right, let's move on from the digital stuff to practical physical things.
So kind of on the outside of the backpack, things that we travel with, water bottle. Always got to have a water bottle. This is not tech gear. We'll get back to tech here in a second, but water bottle.
You want to show your water bottle?
I still like the Nalgene's. I know a lot of people like Hydro Flask or the metal ones. I don't. They're heavier. This is lightweight, and I can drop it and it doesn't clink and put me in a bad mood. I used to have a Hydro Flask, and I'm sort of thankful I lost it somewhere along the way because it drove me crazy. And then I always carry Kramer's water bowl for in the airport. So in the top of my backpack, I keep my Bose headphone, my noise canceling headphones, over-ear ones. These have just about had it. They are falling apart a little bit because I love them so much, but I use these when we're on a plane and I'm trying to drown out the engine noise because I don't love the engine noise. So I use those on planes, and then I keep my Sony earbuds for pretty much everything else, for working out, for running around town, that kind of thing, but the over-ears are for planes. My computer charger also fits in the top of my backpack. Inside my tech pouch, I always keep Friendfolk coffee. And yes, that's a pitch, but we really do travel with it because if we're in an airport or on the go, we always have coffee with us for hot or cold in 30 seconds. Man, that is a commercial. Liquid IVs, I always carry these for especially flying travel days. You come off the plane, you're dehydrated, put this in my water bottle when we get off the plane and fill them up, and we are more quickly hydrated again. Cables, phone cables, hard drive cables, all that kind of thing. Whatever we need, I stuff in there. I also always carry my Garmin inReach, or our Garmin inReach, in there. It started out for one backpacking trip, and then I started realizing, like, oh, it doesn't hurt to have it in here in case we want to go on an adventure. I have it. It's an SOS device, so if I'm in the middle of anywhere, I can send emergency text or have, like, hit one button and emergency care will come to us. I've heard people having response times of 30 minutes. I've heard people it could take up to 8 days. So it is a lifeline if something goes terribly wrong. Like if we're overlanding in Africa and something crucially wrong happens, I can hit that. And I know that no matter where in the world I am, somebody will come to me sooner rather than later. The headlamp's sort of another one of those things that I packed one time for a camping trip or something, and I just kept packing it. But it's really nice if you're packing up early in the morning and it's dark. I've used that thing so many times. So headlamp and Garmin Reach are both really like accessory things that I think are important. I also pack chapstick, gum, face wipes. I usually pack Clorox wipes too for wiping down like the airplane tray table or armrest or whatever, just to keep things clean. And if this is largely for flying or even road trips, it keeps me feeling fresh. So wiping my face, putting on chapstick. I always take a pen for filling out the customs forms before we land. I always take an Allen wrench. This is one that I finally finally put that in my bag. I was like, I'm so smart, thinking ahead. But Allen wrench for the bottom of like the plates on the bottom of the camera for the tripods. A lot of things have Allen wrenches, and it's just nice to have one in my bag. Sunglasses, a battery pack. The battery pack I use to charge phones and stuff, it has a great charge, but it's actually from my away carry-on bag. They don't allow you to keep them in the bag on the airport anymore, so I put it in my tech pouch. Passport, wallet, business cards, ibuprofen, lens cloth, my hard drive, hair ties, a protein bar because I get hangry. That's pretty much all in my tech pouch. That's what I keep, and it works great.
It does. She's like Mary Poppins.
I am. I keep like the stuff that we need to live on the plane. Like I keep us hydrated and moisturized. And then Chris carries all of the cables and batteries.
Yeah. My tech pouch consists of a lot of like the Sony batteries, the GoPro batteries and the chargers, a lot of cables, a lot of USB-C cables like by Kondor Blue. I know this one's pink, but it's fast and really nice. Pretty much anything that's on the filming side or the tech side, that's what we keep on there.
Some of y'all have asked what we are using in the podcast studio. This is not our studio. This is actually our co-working spaces studio that has a free podcast studio for us to use. The mics, we would actually really love to buy some of these of our own, buy this exact kit. We are finally back on the road and we can do podcasts on the road, which is one of our goals.
Yes. So we're really impressed with this. These are the Shure SM7B microphones. They sound really good. They're very directional. And so there's an air conditioning happening right here. And I'm pretty sure you can't hear it.
And it's echoey in here, but I don't think it comes off echoey.
No, it doesn't. And then we also record on a Roadmaster Pro. And I love that because you're able to put a micro SD inside of it and just record straight there. And it's only 2 wires, the 2 mics, and then it has Bluetooth capabilities, but we're really impressed with this setup.
But so people have asked us, the little the Rodecaster Pro is like, how is the soundboard for it? It's not crazy large, very easy to use. I know how to use it. I think it's a great set. I would love to buy it. It's not necessarily cheap, but if you're looking for a good quality at a moderate price, I think this is probably a good way to go.
I think it is too. All right. I mean, that's literally what we carry with us besides the podcast stuff 98% of the time while we travel the world.
Yeah. I don't know if this is helpful, but yeah, let us know. If you have more questions, something we didn't mention or you need clarification, ask it in the comments below. We'd be happy to answer it. All right. That's all.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.
For behind the scenes and extra content, you can head on over to our Patreon community. Otherwise, be sure to follow on Instagram or like and subscribe here. It really helps creators like us.